It's in the game.
Give me a break, need another life. Oh, need another life. Give me a break, need another life.
Today is a day to be impartial as I return to Old Trafford for a Premier League game for the first time since my retirement as Manchester United take on Arsenal. And in response to United's frankly terrible season, protests can be seen from where I'm sitting. Well, it has been all rain and black clouds for Manchester United this season in terms of performance. Today, they somewhat figuratively play under more. There is a section of fans today in the stadium with black clothing in a protest against the Glazers' part in the ownership today. And it's been very admirable and peaceful thus far, which is a very admirable trait as the game gets underway today. Arsenal take on Manchester United, returning to the football matters. And today, we're hoping to have some updates from the City ground as Manchester City will take on Nottingham Forest during this game today. So Arsenal and everyone who's an Arsenal fan will have one eye in a different direction to see how they do. The gap at the top is just 3 points. City's challenge may have faltered a tiny bit, but it has been somewhat relentless, keeping the pressure and Arsenal team on their toes. A very much rotated squad with only a few familiar names for Mikel Arteta today. He's got one eye on the second leg of the Champions League last 16 clash against Bayern Munich, who lead Bayern Munich, that is, by 4-3. Taking a look at the Manchester United lineup today, a very interesting inclusion for Devane Renich, who joined in the January transfer window. Jadon Sancho is actually on the pitch for Ruben Almiron today after his loan from Chelsea thrown through in the beginning of the season. Almiron seems to have given him a spot in the lineup today. David Raya, of course, starting in goal for Arsenal. It's Calvori and former United player Yeni Euro looking to make an impact against his former club. Jorginho is in for Declan Rice, who made the bench. Martin Odegaard, of course, starts. It's Victor Gyökeres, Kai Havertz and Ethan Nwaneri as the front three today, as Alexander Isak didn't even make the bench in an interesting selection. I have to more or less guess that is more due to the Champions League match rather than the form that Isak has been dwindled a bit. He did score in the game against Bayern Munich, however. So here we go. In a clash that would have been seen as a high-profile one many years ago, many pointing to this as probably a bit of a stroll for Arsenal, to be honest, even though they are pretty much struggling to score an abundance of goals. They did score three against Bayern Munich, mind you. Yeah, how the tables have turned in the last decade or plus since Alex Ferguson left the club as a manager back then. And it's been a club trying to find themselves ever since in a new era of football. And so far, well, as much as I hate to say it as a Manchester United supporter and former player myself, it's rather unfortunate that they still haven't really found their new identity yet. And they're now transitioning to Ruben Almiron's identity, and it's not really getting any better, is it? United sitting 12th. When Ten Hag was sacked, they were 8th. And would you believe it, 5 minutes in, Manchester City have scored already against Nottingham Forest, and that puts the pressure immediately on this Arsenal side to perform now. Josotu was, I think, the scorer. I've not really seen that name before, so he might be a new signing they made in the January window. Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire and Martinez all in the centre of defence today, trying to keep this Manchester United, Arsenal heavy attack out. Although the girls are kind of dwindling a little bit, as Danny Euro gets a good tackle in against his former teammate Memphis Depay, who is up top today. Well, Memphis Depay's second stint at United isn't really going any better than its first. In fact, it's probably worse with United's league position. As admirable as the protest was earlier today, they're all in the stadium. But of course, Manchester United, obviously, there's a lot of calling on social media, a lot of kind of other avenues that have been explored and said about maybe trying to get the game cancelled. I don't think that would ever have happened, to be honest. A lot of people point to, well, it happened against Liverpool. It happened with the Liverpool game. Hang on, here's Gyökeres with a goal already. And, well, that was too easy for Victor Gyökeres. Where was the defence for United there? Absolutely nowhere. It was only Harry Maguire that was somewhat with Havertz, and even then he was behind him. Gyökeres comes in on side. There's no one with him at all. That's very poor defending by United, with only Harry Maguire making some sort of effort there. But, yeah, to continue with the story, obviously the Liverpool game was cancelled, but that was due to the Super League, with all football fans being united in protest against the Super League. It's very different here. I think there's about 5,000, I think it was the final total of the protest, in a ground of 70,000 people. I don't really see how that's really going to affect it, but if they continue to try, the United fans, this isn't the first protest they've ever done. The Glazers' ownership has been protested for over 20 years. So it's not like this is just a one-off. It's definitely not, but it always just seems to be the small numbers, to be honest, which is not unfortunate. You know, we all are united for a common purpose as United supporters, but you can't get the game called off. That's just not how football works, really. And it was a very different circumstance for the last time that happened. The Arsenal fans that are in attendance today probably don't really care that much, to be honest. They only care about their own team and their title challenge, and they want to support their team in that title challenge. So they're here for very different reasons than the ones in black for United today. You probably saw a couple of them there, as Renic tried a shot there, but, well, if the fans weren't already trying to make their voices heard against the ownership, they're going to be even more unhappy now, because their team is now one down. And in a season where that has been a very common sight, unfortunately for us. Oh, important goal at the City ground. This will please Arsenal fans. Nottingham Forest have equalised against Manchester City, as David Raya makes a good save. Well, Nottingham Forest doing Arsenal a favour perhaps here. And with Arsenal one up, that would increase the gap to 5 points now. So if we regain the 5-point lead, they lost a couple of games back. I think, ironically, it was against Nottingham Forest, wasn't it? I think it was. So Forest are getting some good luck against the big six, as it were, now. But they're doing Arsenal a favour. Here is Renic. Renic, I believe, came from RB Leipzig, but I could be wrong about that. And now United come forward with Memphis. And it's another poor shot from Memphis Depay. It's just not coming together for United in terms of goals, is it? The goals and the system, it's just not working. Almiron does have a lot of players that aren't his, however. And he won't be having Victor Gyökeres anytime soon, because he's coming up against his former manager today in an Arsenal shirt. And Arsenal have benefited from his appearance today, already up by a goal to nil. Here is Zinchenko, former Manchester City player. He finds Havertz. He's probably going to be offside. And he is. And that saved Eriksen's bacon there, because he was pretty much spun out. It was Odegaard, not Zinchenko. My apologies for that. So many different protest ideas that have been floating around, mostly on social media, which can obviously be just fans thinking of some ideas that probably wouldn't work, depending on the situation. There were some voices being said that get this game called off, and it hurts, but I think it's probably going to take a lot more of a consistent way of protesting, because normally it seems to me like, and I know this is a bit off topic, but as a United fan I probably could speak about it somewhat. It needs to be a more of a consistent thing, but what do I know? I was never really a regular appearance at Old Trafford as a fan. I do remember going to one game back in, I think it was maybe 2004. I think it was against Fulham, and I think we won. I think Ronaldo scored twice. Anyway, here's Lindelof. I will try to keep the commentary on the game today, because that is the important factor from an Arsenal perspective, and probably from a United perspective as well. Just get another win on the board, maybe restore some confidence, because this team right now, their confidence is on the floor, and if it was there was a hole in the floor, United would go completely through it confidence-wise right now, and that's just the epitome of it. I think it was Jadon Sancho putting it out for an Arsenal throw. Ben White to Kai Havertz. And look how much space Pantano had there. He was lucky that Maguire got there first. Well, the United fans, even the ones in black, always in a good voice. Oh, goal coming in from Molineux. Now, this could be important for relegation. The relegation battle. Everton have opened the scoring against Wolves. And Wolves are at the bottom of the table. So a vital win for Everton, perhaps, in their last season at Goodison Park, we hope. And we really hope as neutrals that Everton will survive their final season at Goodison Park in the Premier League. Every neutral is really cheering for them in a happy ending to a wonderful stadium. Of course, we will be there in the final game at Goodison Park against Southampton in the penultimate week of the season. And we might even still have a title battle by then as well, because City have been relentless in their charge towards Arsenal. But right now, the last update from the City ground was Forest 1, City 1. And that was after City opened the scoring 5 minutes in. Arsenal then scored a couple of minutes later with Victor Gyökeres. Still leading by the goal to nil. And it's not been completely poor from United, but I don't think even Arsenal are out of second gear yet. They're not banging down the door, they're just keeping the ball, and if they lose it, they're pretty much getting it straight back somewhat. Like that. It's a poor pass with Jadon Sancho, to be honest. Brentford and Aston Villa, and Brentford took the lead, but Leon Bailey, I believe that is, has given Villa an equaliser. Kai Havertz makes a shot saved by Nana. In comes Victor Gyökeres again, and Martinez throwing himself in front of the ball. You'd expect nothing less for a man with as much passion as Lisandro Martinez plays with. De Ligt, who has been quietly going about his business, to be fair, and he's had a very good season. And Maguire was picked off by Martin Odegaard, and Martin Odegaard will force the save of Onana. Kai Havertz will score again, and Arsenal lead by 2-0, and that was too easy. Harry Maguire was pickpocketed by Martin Odegaard, and the fans are not happy. And I think it was De Ligt there that couldn't get the ball from Odegaard in the first place. A complete lack of defending from Manchester United. And both goals really the makings of their own undoing. Arsenal up by 2-0, and they're in cruise control. And Kai Havertz has scored again. Well, he's on a bit of a roll at the moment, Kai Havertz. He's getting goals all over the place. And since his return from injury, I think we're still about a month or so away, or half a month away from Moreno coming back. And Martinelli, of course, is out for the remainder of the season with a torn ACL, that kind of dreaded injury that's been such a commonplace injury, at least for the last 5 years, in all forms of sport. Gyökeres really settling in nicely to his Arsenal career, even if he is playing left wing more than striker. Of course, Gyökeres will be ineligible for the game against Bayern Munich, as will Yeni Euro. Good tackle by Shinchenko and Antony there. And it's just such a mix-up with Manchester United. There's just no cohesion. It's all just get to the ball and just leave acres of space. They've done it a lot so far. Here's Antony. And that forces a United throw. And that is going to be Antony's last action of the game. He's going off for Marcus Rashford. We've not even reached half-time yet. And I wonder what that kind of switch is from Almiron, to be honest. That is a very strange decision. Not for who's coming up. Marcus Rashford would be an obvious decision. But even that isn't so obvious these days. Well, Manchester United, the fans came in black to protest against the Glazer ownership, or at least they're part in it now, because obviously it's only partial, most majority. But they're not happy for another reason, and it's because Arsenal have cruised to a 2-0 lead. Welcome to Old Trafford for the second half of this Premier League tie between Manchester United and Arsenal, in a day that protests happened and fans arrived at the stadium in black in a very grey and gloomy season for United performance-wise. It hasn't got any better. They've come up against the champions-elect in Arsenal, and they've been blown out of Old Trafford so far, losing by 2-0. And Arsenal barely are out of second gear. United have not had it all their own way today. Poor defending all round. Well, kept in by Wanyari there for both goals. And Antony went off before the half-time whistle even blew. So, and there's another big acre of space. Look at this. Now Pantano's going to shoot from there. And in comes Havertz. And Onana gets the ball first. Another gaping hole by the United defence. They're just absolutely nowhere defensively. There's no cohesion or even some sort of setup. And that ball went over Havertz's head. I'm surprised he didn't throw himself into that one to try and get something on it and force Onana into some difficulty. And Joe to Eriksen. Bruno Fernandes made the bench for United this afternoon. So it was Casemiro that took captaining duties. Here's Memphis. And that's the closest United have got so far. Memphis Depay just not at the races when it comes to shooting. He had a chance in the first half, but he kind of missed. And, well, David Raya, he's had one decent save to make all afternoon so far. And his team have just cruised at the other end. It's not been absolutely woeful from United, but there have been pockets of defending that have been pretty below par, to be honest. Maguire was pickpocketed by Odegaard before he found Havertz for the goal. And Gyökeres, which Havertz was the assister, no one anywhere near him. And it was an open net, more or less. It could have been an open net, really. And Arno would have been like wasn't even there, the amount of space Gyökeres had for the first goal. It was quite staggering, to be fair. It's Harry Maguire. There's a mirror to Eriksen. Here is Rashford. And Rashford just no confidence. Just trying to get a shot off. And, well, it's a poor decision. You can't do that with your team in 12th place. I mean, they can't really get relegated from here, even if it is showing as relegation form for United this year. This has been, by some leaps and bounds, their worst season, at least since the 70s. And here's Wanyeri and tackled by De Legit, who's been probably the best signing that United made in the summer. But yeah, I think mathematically United can't get relegated from here because there's quite a gap between them in 12th and 13th. And then the 14th place team, which I believe is either Nottingham Forest or Leicester City. Here's Sancho. Extra tackle by Calvori. It's too easy for United. And Maguire did very well against Charlie Patino there. And Leon Bailey has turned Aston Villa's fortunes around at the Brentford Stadium because Brentford are now 2-1 down. So Unai Emery is getting some reprieve in a season that has really been below par for Aston Villa, strangely, considering they were top 4 last year. Or last season, rather. Victor Wanyeri easily getting the ball from Lindelof. White back to Wanyeri. Wanyeri tried to pick out Havertz. Manchester United just trying to pass the ball simply around. There's no real cutting edge to their attack so far. Vidalov is having to wing play. Ben White got a nick on the ball there. Well done. Wanyeri. De Legit is far too far forward. Look at the gap here. And Martinez, he got back there. But De Legit, what was he doing? Given away cheaply by Casemiro. United have been awful. Odegaard. Wanyeri. And he didn't score, but that was awful. And Bruno Fernandes is coming on for Martinez. I think that's really just the team's overall performance. Patino and Wanyeri make way for Declan Rice and Raheem Sterling, respectively. Raheem Sterling on loan from Chelsea. Only has about a couple of goals to his name, but he's fulfilled his role, more or less. Especially with Martinelli out. Here is Rashford. Rashford with the shot. And another poor shot from Marcus Rashford. When is it going to end? This just bad run of form that Rashford has been on for so long now. Just a few seasons back, he was a 30-goal plus scorer for a season. Now he's barely getting anything. Sterling tackled by Lindelof, and that could mean trouble for Lindelof. It is a straight red card for Victor Lindelof. And just to compound Manchester United's day, it just gets worse. Memphis Depay has gone off for Joshua Zirkzee. Almiron is just, he has no idea what to do. His team are just not with it. And now, they've got to play the rest of this game with 10 men. Odegaard into Kai Havertz on either side of him, and he would have scored. There was straight out Nana with a diving header instead. Either side of him, and it's almost a clear goal. Wrench. Here is Fernandes. Wrench again. Casemiro. They have to go back to De Legit. How far forward is De Legit here? Again, there's no structure or cohesion in this United side. De Legit is carelessly out of position. Here comes Kai Havertz. And he's got by Maguire, and he shielded the ball brilliantly. Kai Havertz has turned into a bit of a winger, and Arnold saves it, and is in by Gyökeres. It's a complete mess, and Manchester United are atrocious right now. That was awful. Victor Gyökeres and Kai Havertz. Absolutely. Maguire does not. Maguire and Onana have not covered themselves in glory there. And, well, I think Gyökeres really should probably be punished for this. Because I think he didn't kick out at Onana, not intentionally. I think he went for the ball. The goal does go to Gyökeres, believe it or not. But Maguire was just... It was just awful. Maguire just... No effort there. And Onana was caught in no man's land. Kai Havertz turned into a winger for a moment. And Michael Keane has scored for Everton, making it 2-0 against Wolves at Molineux. And, well, that's going to bring a smile to a lot of faces. But what has Almiron got to do? What is the answer for Manchester United right now? Is there an answer? This is some of the worst I've ever seen from this team. And I played in some performances where we were really poor. But this is just, and I've even witnessed some myself, but this is just another level of poor. There's no cohesion, there's no structure. It's just hoof it around and hope, really. I mean, that's better from Casemiro. He's found Sancho with a lot of space here. The protests are all well and good, but I don't think... United's problems stem from the ownership. There's no doubt about that. That's where it starts. But I think it's going to take a lot more than an ownership change to fix these problems. Almiron needs a whole new squad. Really, he does. And that's not to say people are bad or players are bad. But look at Zinchenko. Maguire, just nothing. He's found Havertz and he's Onana saved with his legs. I don't know how much you knew about that. But more woeful play from Maguire. This is much more problematic than the Glazers. And any ownership structure for that matter. We do know that Sadiq Jassim is supposedly in the running with his Qatar group, but couldn't provide any proof of funds was the official wording. Oh, and Curtis Eriksen's fallen down into Raheem Sterling. It's 4-0. Raheem Sterling with a rocket goal. Let's be fair, I don't think Onana's even saving it. But Christian Eriksen here was beaten. All ends up. And that is a rocket from Sterling. That could have gone anywhere. Andre Onana. He's not saving that in a month for Sundays. 4-0 to Arsenal. And in a year where Arsenal have scored and scored and scored for fun, I would probably say this has probably been their easiest game of the season so far. Because this United team is just dysfunctional, really. It really is. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Like I said, I think Almiron needs a whole new team sheet. But will Almiron even stay that long? He has been noticeably just fed up with everything that has gone on. And he's been very critical of his team and some of the players in it. And Yone has scored for Brentford. And Aston Villa have conceded their 2-1 lead. Kai Havertz and Diligent gets there. And Arsenal, you have to say, have barely broken a sweat. They're not even out of second gear here. It has not been a difficult game for them by any means. Here is Rashford. Tackled by Lenny Yoro. Now Vori, a beautiful ball. Xerxes does get there first. But even Xerxes is at the halfway line. Get forward. There's no forward play from United here. Even Bruno Fernandes is probably the only one who's trying to get forward here. Casemiro, there's Rashford, Fernandes, and Sancho in the box, but where is Joshua Zirkzee? He's a forward, isn't he? I'm sorry, but oh my word. As a United supporter, I am really showing my frustrations here, and I'm sorry about it. But here has just been woeful. Sancho just compounding the matters. Oh boy. I'm struggling to find any answer that would provide United with some form of answer here. I don't think there is one at this very moment in time. The squad is... well, Manchester United's football team have been blown out of the stadium. And their fans, their only hope is the women's team that are in contention for the title, because this team is going nowhere fast but down at the moment. Not relegation, but just down the table. Arsenal had one of their easiest days of the season. 2 goals for Gyökeres, 1 for Kai Havertz, and 1 for Raheem Sterling. And Arsenal barely got out of second gear. United 0, Arsenal 4. Let's take a look at all the scores this weekend and what that means for the league table. And we'll start at Anfield. A vital win for them against Southampton, which changes the face of relegation a little bit. Fulham beat Brighton by a goal to 0. Brentford and Aston Villa ended 2-2. Manchester City must have pulled a late winner, because last we heard from them they were 1-1 draw. Now they're 2-1 winners. So they obviously got a late winner there. Palace beat Ipswich 2-0. Newcastle keeps somewhat the pressure on the top 2, although they are 10 points behind Arsenal at the top. But they win by a goal to 0. Everton, a vital win in their fight for relegation, winning by 2 goals to 0. And I think the final score of the day was Bournemouth beating Spurs by a goal to 0. And we have Chelsea 3, Leicester 1 as well, which is again kind of a vital result in the relegation battle. So Arsenal still lead the table by 3 points under Manchester City. Newcastle, as said, that 10 points off the lead, but they probably still get second, but it is very unlikely considering City continue to win. Liverpool 4th, followed by Chelsea with a 2-point lead. Spurs have fallen behind a little bit lately. They're now in 6th, ahead of Brentford in a great performance this year to be 7th. And Bournemouth have really been the stars of the show somewhat in 8th position, away from the top of the table battle between Arsenal and City. And they have really been the unsung heroes, Brentford and Bournemouth. Villa now move up to 9th. West Ham completing the top 10 there. Ahead of Brighton, ahead on goal difference by 2. Fulham a further point behind in 12th. Manchester United now drop to 13th. And this is why I said earlier that they can't get relegated from here, because they do have a 7-point lead over Crystal Palace in 14th. And then we'll probably go down a little bit further in a second. Leicester still on that same number. And then I think it's Everton who are 16th on 24, because that's another point. So United right now, 17th Nottingham Forest. So United right now, I don't think they can get relegated from here, because then Southampton are on 19. So a lot to sort out for Almiron for next season. Ipswich and Wolves complete the relegation places today.